Hi, these are the top 10 films of 1998. When I say top, I mean my personal favourite films. 1998 was a great year for cinema, so there's going to be loads of films I left off, so please include your favourites down below. And if you like these videos, consider giving this a like and subscribing. Cheers. In at number 10, The Truman Show. A film that pulls off a high concept perfectly. This romantic comedy social commentary drama manages to deal with things such as surveillance, reality television, and ideas of simulated realities, all while being incredibly entertaining, and doing all of this in only 1 hour and 40 minutes. God, I miss shorter movies. We're introduced to a world where there is a TV show known as The Truman Show that follows a real man who has no idea he is in a show. He lives in a giant television studio, which fakes weather and day and night, and where everyone else, including his wife, is an actor. Soon, however, he starts to suspect that something is amiss. Jim Carrey isn't exactly an everyman, but his casting here is pretty spot on. His exaggerated facial expressions make you believe that people would be hooked to this show. He's certainly not a boring person to look at. The rest of the cast is great, especially good is Laura Linney as his fake wife, who cares more about fitting in adverts than for her husband.
Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mount Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
What the hell are you talking about?
And there's Ed Harris as the godlike executive producer and creator of the show. He's brilliantly menacing and fatherly in one, very much a sort of Old Testament god. It's fun, it's moving, it makes you paranoid and gets you thinking. Questions such as, what if I'm in a reality TV show? And just how long has that man been in a bath for?
Well, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
In at number 9, Festen. A truly dark, twisted, disturbing film about a birthday party. This was the first of the Dogma 95 films, an artistic movement where the themes, the story and the acting took centre place, so there was no fancy camera work, lighting, special effects or even sets. Sometimes I wish these films looked better, but the handheld, dodgy camera work here works a treat because it makes it feel like an old home movie. The story takes place during the birthday party of the father of a rich family. As the party continues, more and more revelations are revealed about the father and the sins he had committed against his own family. It's embarrassing, strangely funny, and utterly riveting. Director and writer Thomas Vinterberg knows how to make an involving film about characters that are deeply flawed and totally real. And he knows how to put together a great cast.
Skål for manden, der dræbte min søster. Skål for en morder.
Jeg må foreslå en rygepause.
In at number 8, A Simple Plan. Sam Raimi's most overlooked gem. In many ways this feels a lot like Fargo. It's a snow-filled neo-noir about how money can corrupt. It doesn't have the strange humour of the Coens, but it has a more sombre tone and a set of central characters you can completely relate to. We follow 3 men who stumble across a crashed plane in the countryside of Minnesota. Inside the plane is a corpse and a bag containing millions of dollars. They decide to keep the money, and then things go from bad to worse until plenty of blood is shed. Bill Paxton is superb as the everyman, and Billy Bob Thornton gives a remarkable performance as his brother with learning difficulties, who constantly complicates things for the trio. It's full of twists and turns, and it is a wonderful, stressful watch. It was unfortunately a box office bomb, and maybe that is why Raimi hasn't made many serious films since. A shame, as here I think he proved just how good he could be at it.
You saw what happened, it was self-defense, no way! Let's just talk, okay? Figure this out? Come on, we gotta... Okay? No!
In at number 7, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. The book is unfilmable, so why not let Terry Gilliam take a crack at it? Gilliam has stated that he has never taken any hallucinatory drugs, and you can tell by the way he represents it on screen. But what he does manage to do is make the movie a unique drug in of itself. You really feel like you're on a trip. The The practical effects, small use of CGI, and brilliant cinematography make you feel like you've taken something. Two people who have clearly taken a lot of drugs are Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro. Their expressions and reactions are spot on, and both are hilarious in the picture. Depp doing a great impression of Hunter S. Thompson, and Del Toro, personally for me, stealing the show as his lawyer.
There's two women fucking a polar bear.
Don't tell me those things. Not now, man. This is my last drink.
Hunter S. Thompson was such a unique writer, and his 1971 novel about his attempt to find the American dream while on a drug binge in Las Vegas is utterly spellbinding. When I first saw the movie as a young teen, I loved the first half, but felt it started to drag in the second. Now I think it's just the right length. It perfectly captures a binge, where it's all fun and jokes when it starts, but then it begins to go on longer than you intended, and the laughs are replaced with fear, exhaustion, and anger. The incredibly nasty scene where Del Toro threatens a waitress is a wonderful, sobering moment. They've gone too far. Las Vegas and the drugs have become a prison, and there is seemingly no way to escape. Is it a perfect film? No, but there's not much else like it.
Wait! We can't stop here. This is bad country.
In at number 6, Dark City. The Matrix 1 year before The Matrix. This neo-noir sci-fi has a ridiculous amount in common with The Matrix, but whereas that film focuses on action, this focuses more on horror and a classic noir tone. We follow a man suffering from amnesia who is accused of being a serial killer. He is on the run from both the police and a strange group of bald men, all while trying to find out who he is and what is up with this strange city. If you haven't seen it, then for God's sake watch the director's cut. The theatrical version starts with a voiceover where Kiefer Sutherland explains the main twist, a bizarre, pathetic choice from the studio. Speaking of Sutherland, this has a strange cast, and almost certainly none of them would have been the first choice, which makes this film feel even more strangely unique. Sutherland plays a whispery, odd doctor who seems to know what's going on. The great William Hurt is the head detective. Jennifer Connelly is a nightclub singer. The lead is Rufus Sewell, and Richard O'Brien is the main villain. Bizarre, but they are all perfect for the film. The crew is just as good, with beautiful cinematography, set design, costumes, and model work. It was a huge financial flop, and aside from a few vocal supporters such as Roger Ebert, it was largely forgotten about by the time The Matrix came out the next year. It's a shame, as Dark City is a wonderful sci-fi noir. Here are some other notable releases of 1998. Edward Norton gave a standout performance in American History X. There was Rushmore, another brilliantly funny film about privileged arseholes from Wes Anderson.
I like your nurse's uniform, guy.
These are OR scrubs.
Oh, are they?
From Tony Scott, you had Enemy of the State, a strange sort of unofficial action-filled sequel to The Conversation.
What the hell was happening? I blew up the building. Why? Because you made a phone call!
There was another great Elmore Leonard adaptation, Out of Sight.
It's your first time being around. You're doing great. Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too.
One of the last great old-fashioned Disney cartoons, Mulan. Cameron Diaz got jizz in her hair in the very funny Farrelly Brothers comedy There's Something About Mary. There were 2 major motion pictures about ants and 2 major motion pictures about asteroids hitting Earth. Thank God there was only one shot-for-shot remake of Psycho. Strange that Gus Van Sant made very few changes, but he chose to add sounds of Norman Bates masturbating. Classy. For action films, you had Rush Hour, The Mask of Zorro, and the dreadful American version of Godzilla, which did have a good soundtrack though. For foreign cinema, you had The very inventive, energetic German film Run Lola Run. From Japan you had Afterlife, a very somber look at the afterlife. Well, I guess it should be somber. And The Ring had one of the greatest endings in horror cinema. For British cinema, you had Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, where posh boy gone Cockney Guy Ritchie ripped off Tarantino, but it was nevertheless a lot of fun.
Got some bad news for you, John.
What the fuck?
Mind your language in front of the boy.
Jesus Christ!
Shakespeare in Love bizarrely won Best Picture. There was Elizabeth, and Christopher Nolan made his feature film debut with the independent Following. And Little Voice with Michael Caine.
Goodbye, good fucking bye. You won't be seen.
There was the underrated Pleasantville, Gods and Monsters, Pi, Buffalo 66, Central Station, and the very silly Wild Things that I watched a lot of, and I mean a lot of, on VHS as a teenager. Because Bill Murray is so funny in it. And in my opinion, the most underrated film of 1998 was Blade. I loved this film when I was a kid, and nothing has changed. It's bloody nonsense.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Right, on to my top 5. In at number 5, Fucking Amal. A really fantastic teenage drama. This low-budget Swedish film might be the best representation of teenage angst and embarrassment I've ever seen. Set in Amal, it also deals with what it's like to be a young adult in a small town, the boredom and the want to rebel, which is why Fucking Amal is an appropriate title. The title which isn't good was the English title, Show Me Love. Dreadful. We follow a few teens over a small period of time, and the main focus of the film is on the relationship between the lonely lesbian Agnes and the difficult lost Ellen. Agnes is a bullied loner who keeps her sexuality a secret, and Ellen is a bored girl dreaming of becoming a model and escaping this little town. Both actresses are outstanding in the film, as is the supporting cast. There isn't a bad performance in it. It manages to feel totally real, with even Agnes being capable of being mean and horrid to the one girl who will give her the time of day. It's deeply embarrassing, upsetting, and at times uplifting. A beautiful look at how hard it can be to be a teenager. In at number 4, Saving Private Ryan. A really good World War II men on a mission film with an outstanding opening. Steven Spielberg has directed some of the greatest scenes in film history, and the opening to his epic World War II film on Omaha Beach might just be his greatest. It's intense, shocking, upsetting, strangely thrilling, and was unlike anything seen on screen up to that point. Spielberg basically invented the shaky cam, which works a treat here, making you feel like you're on that beach with those unlucky men. Since then, though, the shaky cam has been used by other directors with far less involving results, basically meaning you can't understand what's going on. The sound design of that opening is remarkable too. It's one of the most frightening sounding sequences of all time. Bullets whizzing past you, deafening explosions, and the sounds of utter suffering all around you. The greatest detail in the whole film, I think, comes in this scene. After losing so many of their friends, the Allies start to take the German position. And then this happens.
What? What? I'm sorry, I can't understand what you're saying.
It isn't subtitled, as we are following it from the eyes of the Americans.
What? What? I'm sorry, I can't understand what you're saying.
This is heartbreaking, showing the mess of war, and is one of the best choices Spielberg has ever made. He is not spoon-feeding the audience here. The rest of the film, where a group of men are tasked with finding the last surviving brother of the Ryan family, is brilliant, but never reaches the heights of that opening. The cast is terrific. Tom Hanks is as lovable as always as the commander of the group. The underappreciated Tom Sizemore is fantastic. Jeremy Davis is very good as the terrified soldier with no fighting experience. Giovanni Ribisi is perfect in a tragic role. Matt Damon is great as the brother who doesn't want to be saved. And Vin Diesel is in it. It can be argued that Spielberg's sentimentality doesn't serve the picture well, but you can't help but feel all the emotions, as Spielberg is one of the great puppet masters of cinema.
Get shut, you're out of my boot.
Drop him now!
In number 3, Happiness. This film certainly isn't for everyone. This is a remarkably nasty, mean-spirited, dark comedy, and I love it. Todd Solondz always aims to shock, and his films are a mixed bag to say the least. But I think with this, his third feature, he nailed his weird mixture of real-life characters and appalling happenings. Maybe he should have moved on to different types of films after this. The title is an ironic one, as there is barely a second of happiness in this miserable picture. We follow 3 sisters and the people in their lives. The eldest sister, Trish, seems to have it all, being a content upper-middle-class housewife married to a successful psychiatrist. Little does she know, however, that he is a paedophile.
Do you have any tuna salad?
Would you like a sandwich?
The middle sister is a successful author, but is unfulfilled in her private life. An answer to her problem seems to come in the shape of a pathetic man who makes obscene phone calls.
Hello?
And I'm gonna fuck you so bad you're gonna be coming out of your ears.
Hey, Alan, did you see the playoffs last night?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good.
I was on my knees praying for that shot.
It worked.
And the youngest sister is not successful in any way. The cast is something else. Jane Addams is wonderfully pathetic.
Don't worry. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you.
But I'm not laughing.
Dylan Baker gives a funny and terrifying performance as the paedophile psychiatrist. Ben Gazzara is perfectly cast as the father of the daughters who wants to die as quickly as he can, so is constantly adding extra salt to his food. Jared Harris gives a career best performance as a Russian enjoying America.
I love New Jersey.
But undoubtedly stealing the show is the master himself, Philip Seymour Hoffman, as a tragic pervert.
I have to see you.
Who is it?
It's such a nasty film, but it is filled with so many funny scenes, lines, and performances that it strangely can bring happiness, at least to the strangest of viewers. I understand why some people would hate this, but for me, this is a laugh-out-loud, horrid film.
There's still some left in my freezer.
So you did cut off his...
No! I left it attached. I didn't want to touch it again.
In at number 2, The Big Lebowski. For my money, the Coens' funniest film. They tell a kind of Raymond Chandler-esque LA set mystery, but the lead is not a tough-as-nails Philip Marlowe-type private eye. Instead, we get a bowling-loving, slacker stoner played superbly by Jeff Bridges. The dude gets caught up in a kidnapping plot gone wrong mystery due to having the same name as a millionaire. Much like a Chandler novel, it's filled with deceitful characters, femme fatales, and plenty of twists and turns. But The Big Lebowski is also a superb comedy.
The fuck is this?
Obviously, you're not a golfer.
Bridges slips into the part of the dude comfortably, and it is an astonishing transformation.
You know, this could be a lot more complex. I mean, it's not just, it might not be just such a simple You know?
What in God's holy name are you blathering about?
The rest of the cast is spellbinding. John Goodman gives one of his very best performances as his short-fused Vietnam vet friend, Walter.
Is this your homework, Larry?
Is that your car out front?
Is this your homework, Larry?
We know it's his fucking homework. Where's the fucking money, you little brat?
Look, Larry, have you ever heard of Vietnam? You're entering a world of pain, son. We know that this is your homework. We know that you stole a car.
And the fucking money.
And the fucking money. And we know that this is your homework.
Steve Buscemi is lovable as the final part of their trio, Donnie, and as he played a motor mouth character in Fargo, the Coens decided to not let him get a word in edgeways here.
Those are good burgers, Walter.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
We near the In-N-Out burger.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Who's in pajamas, Walter?
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
And they're joined by the marvelous Julianne Moore.
Vagina.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, I don't like hearing it and find it difficult to say, whereas without batting an eye, a man will refer to his dick, or his rod, or his Johnson.
Johnson?
John Turturro in one of his most iconic roles.
You pull any of your crazy shit with us, you flash your piece out on the lanes, I'll take it away from you and stick it up your ass and pull the fucking trigger till it goes click.
And from Happiness, we also get Philip Seymour Hoffman and Ben Gazzara. And this is just scratching the surface of the great cast. The film is technically a wonder too. They've got the GOAT Roger Deakins yet again knocking the cinematography out of the park, especially in the numerous dream sequences. It has an outstanding soundtrack and is filled with so many hilarious lines and scenes that there is always one you forget about, meaning that every time you come back to it, you're so surprised by the incredibly witty script. For me, the Coens were the best filmmakers of the 1990s. They were on such a roll, and they ended the decade with a totally unique laugh-out-loud movie.
Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the fucking money, shithead?
It's down there somewhere. Let me take another look.
And in at number 1, The Thin Red Line. Terrence Malick hadn't made a film in over 20 years, and he returned with this, one of the greatest war films ever made. There are some who find his slow, pondering voiceovers and endless shots of trees tiresome, and there have been films of his where I have felt this. But for this, an epic World War II movie with plenty of horror and hopelessness, I think it all makes for a very powerful combination. There isn't really a plot. We simply follow a company as they try to capture a field during the Guadalcanal campaign. During this mission, we hear the soldiers' fears, hopes, and meditations on life and violence. I think this is why it's one of the most impactful war movies. It's not about the story or about a goal. It's about the men and how they are senselessly dying. As with most Malick films, it is stunning to behold. The shots of nature are absolutely beautiful. They alone can bring a tear to your eye. But he also shows just how good he could be at action. The battle sequences are truly terrifying. Again, like Private Ryan, the sound design is astonishing. It's amazing that 2 such good World War II movies came out in the same year. One of the reasons I may prefer The Thin Red Line is that my grandfather took part in the Pacific Theatre during the war. Hans Zimmer's score is one of his best, and that's really saying something. Journey to the Line is one of my favourite pieces of his music, and it was so good he seemed to reuse it, or at least something nearly identical to it in Inception. The cast for this film is insane. There isn't really a lead, but if you had to pick one, it would be Jim Caviezel, playing an almost Christ-like figure 6 years before playing that man himself. This, for my money, is his best performance. Another person giving their personal best is Nick Nolte as a lieutenant colonel who is pushing the men too far and doesn't care about losses. He is exceptional in the role. His friction with Elias Koteas, playing a captain who can't bear to lose more men, leads to some of the best scenes in this long, long movie. And just let me list off a few more of the cast. Sean Penn, George Clooney, Woody Harrelson, John Cusack, Jared Leto, John C. Reilly, John Travolta, and John Savage. Because we don't spend too much time with any of them, having big stars, and now in hindsight actors who would become big names, means we already have some emotional attachment to them. So when they die or are in jeopardy, you really care. Because there isn't much structure, it took an eternity to edit, and so some of the parts were massively cut down. Adrian Brody said he was supposed to be the lead and was shocked at the premiere when he saw that he only had a few lines in the film. I think this was a good call, however, as it looks like he is slightly overacting. At least he got in the final cut. Mickey Rourke said he gave his best ever performance in a part that was completely left on the cutting room floor. I have always admired The Thin Red Line, but when I finally saw it on the big screen, it had an even bigger effect. I saw it at the Prince Charles Cinema on a double bill with Paths of Glory, a sort of take that hill at all costs marathon. The cinematography, the music, and the performances were almost overwhelming. The Thin Red Line is one hell of an emotional ride.
You ever get lonely?
Only around people.
Only around people.
You still believing in the beautiful light, are you? How do you do that?
Right, so counting down my top 10. In at number 10, The Truman Show. In at number 9, Festen. In at number 8, A Simple Plan. In at number 7, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. In at number 6, Dark City. In at number 5, Fucking Amal. In at number 4, Saving Private Ryan. In at number 3, Happiness. In at number 2, The Big Lebowski. And in at number 1, The Thin Red Line. Well, those were my top 10 films of 1998. What did I leave out? Loads, probably. So what are your top 10 films of 1998? Cheers.